What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Blockhash podcast. Today, I have another exciting guest on the show, Arjun, COO of Orderly Network, here to talk about how they are building a permissionless liquidity layer for Web3 trading. So we're going to dive into that today. Arjun, welcome to the show, man. It's a pleasure to have you on. How's it going?
Yeah, very well. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
To kick it off, I'm sure people would love to learn a little bit more about yourself, maybe a bit about your story and how you got into the Web3 space. And maybe what kind of led up to Orderly Network as well.
I would normally say it's probably a typical entry to Web3, if I'm honest with you. I'm not sure if that's the case anymore. Let's say around mid 2017, a roommate of mine started talking a little bit about Bitcoin and Ethereum. And 10 minutes later, no research, I was buying Ethereum CFDs on like a very popular social trading platform at the time, let's say. As a classic entrant into the crypto world, instantly bought the local top of that summer. Spent more and more time researching it. I think late 2017 market heavily rallied. I ended up buying a lot more, buying a lot of different sort of classic, like we call them dino alts now, I guess. Buying the absolute perfect top in sort of late December, early January, and I don't think ETH ever actually really rebounded until late 2020, early 2021. So I was forced, if you will, to be in it for the tech, as most entrants typically are. But across that period of time, I became sort of more and more intrigued by everything, probably blindly obsessed by the markets, the tech, trying to keep up with the insane pace of what felt like an ever steeper learning curve. But for me, it was just super exciting, and I wanted to do more of that. And I guess during this period, from a career perspective, I spent around about a decade over at Google. A lot of my time was focused on leading business development teams across Europe. Mostly these teams were helping blue chip traditional companies expand into the digital world, but also helping startups, scale up, sort of drive their user acquisition strategies from a global level. So at that point, more and more crypto companies were sort of like propping up, and it was a very natural synergy for me to sort of try and get involved, support those companies that I had like a real passion for. Spent a lot of my evenings, weekends solely focused on crypto, pretty much as most of us do these days, eat, sleep, breathe, all things blockchain. Kind of led me down the path of sort of meeting a wide range of people, notably the team at the centralized exchange, WU Network, where I met the Orderly founder, Ran, back in 2020. And at that point, we started Orderly with 4 team members plus the additional support of the WU Network team, who ended up incubating us. And then fast forward today, we're an independent company, 60 plus staff distributed across 10 different countries worldwide. And in terms of my journey, still eat, sleep, and breathe all things crypto.
Excellent. And was there anything in particular about the tech that caught your eye at first? Was it, for some people, it's DeFi, some people it's NFTs, some people it's tokenization or the economics and trading. Was there something in particular?
Again, like a typical market entrant, I would say at the time, it was, how do I make money? Right. Then it kind of evolved into like, what is this tech? I need to understand it better. Was very, very like Ethereum ecosystem focused, which meant I was almost exclusively around the DeFi ecosystem. That to me just made like a very, very easy crossover in terms of understanding the traditional finance world. How does that apply into the DeFi world, and sort of running from there, understanding the scale, the pure mass scale that traditional finance sits at, and this future of finance echo bubble that we sat in back in sort of DeFi summer. And that just drove me further and further down sort of the DeFi rabbit hole.
And so looking at the Orderly Network, in layman's terms, how would you break down, the core mission for Orderly and what you guys are trying to do?
So the mission for us is very, very simple. Trade anything, anywhere, right? As simple as that. We've spent years, if anything, trying to refine what that mission means, and trying to get that vision out to the users and to our stakeholders as well. But the ethos of it is just trade anything, anywhere in a true decentralized manner. We want to enable a future where DEXs are better, easier, more efficient than their centralized counterpart, right? And we have a very, very clear understanding of why that vision comes to power, right? There's problems that sit across centralized exchanges and in DeFi now, right? centralized exchanges have like a suite of pros, whether it's very intuitive UIs that are friendly, very reminiscent of a Web2 experience or login experience, very, very good, strong, deep liquidity, highly performant. But for us, the reason this vision sort of came to the future is like there's a range of problems with this as well, right? Especially like in the last couple of years, we've seen a huge landscape shift with centralized exchanges, right? Um, Users don't custody their assets, which can lead to a large counterparty risk, which we've seen before, an extreme lack of transparency, high operating costs at a centralized exchange that can typically, if not all the time, be passed down to the end user, and a very minimal use of blockchain technology, right? Which, if we're in this ecosystem, surely we should be leveraging the technology as much as possible. And I think DeFi is great to solve a lot of these problems, but the DeFi landscape over the years hasn't really been able to rival the centralized arm of trading, right? And we always see these like graphs that pop up on Twitter or on LinkedIn or whatever it might be of like the intersection of like DeFi trading versus CeFi trading and how it's slowly like moving up, but it hasn't really got there, right? And it's because there's an inherent amount of problems that sit in DeFi, right? Automated market makers, in our opinion, are orderly anyway. They're a bug, not a feature. It was the only real way back in the early days to offer a form of decentralized trading, but it isn't performant to what we see in traditional finance, right? LP pools need incredibly high incentives to attract enough liquidity for trading. Those incentives are very, very expensive, typically cause down only token prices for projects. AMM models have high gas fees. Price discovery is super slow. What you see is not what you pay. That's for sure, right? The orderly vision really aims to sort of solve these problems to enable users to trade anything, anywhere. So we're talking about a central limit order book for perpetuals with deep liquidity, low fees, low latency, high throughput, just like you'd see on a centralized exchange, but all the benefits of DeFi, like self-custody, transparency, rivaling those problems that I mentioned before. So that's kind of a little bit about the vision that we have at Orderly and the problem we're trying to solve and why it's aligned to that vision.
I've also read a bit into your guys's cloud liquidity infrastructure, which I thought was pretty interesting. Can you elaborate on that a bit more as well, and maybe how it can help, I guess, empower builders and developers kind of in the Web3 space?
Yeah, without a doubt. So the core ethos, so when we say, I'll always loop back to the vision, right? Trade anything, anywhere. So the anywhere feature is probably the most critical because we typically see, and I'm sure you guys have seen this everywhere, like there are hundreds of new chains popping up every week, right? There's new bridges, there's new incentives, there's layer ones, layer twos, people are talking about layer fours. Then the narrative shifts very, very quickly, and it's very complex for builders to be able to understand where to shift their priorities. But increasingly from a user, where are you meant to go, right? This drives more inherent problems within DeFi when it comes to fragmented liquidity. So when we talk about cloud liquidity infrastructure, we're talking about the core strength of Orderly, which is shared liquidity across all chains. Trade anything, anywhere. So traders on Arbitrum can settle trades with users on Optimism, who can settle trades with users on Mantle, and so on and so forth. So the cloud liquidity layer marks the beginning of, let's call it our on-chain clearinghouse, if you will, a decentralized CME, right? We repurpose this liquidity across brokers in both DeFi and CeFi, serving retail and providing an API for professionals and institutional traders, right? So the reason why we're coining this word cloud liquidity is we're advancing chain abstraction. And chain abstraction has typically been a hot topic the last year or so, let's say, where users don't need to know the blockchain they're using. We have a gasless order book based perps, creating a sex-like style experience without the need for multiple signatures, for fees, with extreme speed by moving all of these like non-essential processes off chain while remaining decentralized. So that's why we're tapping into it and calling it cloud liquidity, because it's on any chain. The user comes to the chain of their choice, to the venue of their choice, and trades on any asset of their choice. No wrapped assets, no bridging.
Further from a developer perspective, are there any advantages from actually, building on the Orderly network? Some things that maybe make it easier than maybe competing networks, a little bit more streamlined, more efficient. What would be tantalizing to a developer?
Yeah. So the first part is kind of what I mentioned in the last question, right? Fragmented liquidity. if you're a builder, you're going to deploy on a specific chain, or you're going to have a multi-chain protocol. You have a multi-chain protocol or a single chain protocol, liquidity is siloed into the single chain or it's fragmented across multiple chains. There isn't a true unified order book that sits there. So when we're talking about builders, they're able to deploy an omni-chain solution very, very quickly and seamlessly. At the heart of everything that we do at Orderly, we're a B2B product essentially, right? Our clients, our customers are the builders that leverage our liquidity for their user base, right? So we basically, like, in terms of advantages, there's that in terms of like removing away the frictions of fragmented liquidity. We provide plug and play tooling for these teams to deploy the most popular crypto product ever, perps, right? Using Orderly Infra, we can save developers like months of work. They can just focus on the UX, greater adoption, and user acquisition. So effectively, we're just like massively lowering the barrier to entry to launch perps. With a matter of days, you can just use like our SDK framework, create a UI, and even use their own, right? Connect to our backend APIs, and off they go. Instant liquidity, 7, 8+ chains, 70+ different assets, native deposits and withdrawals from all of those chains, one unified omni-chain order book. So I think a testament in terms of those advantages and how that sits out is the customers that are already onboarded and powered by Orderly, right? We have 30+ protocols powered by Orderly. I think for me, that highlights the advantages of our infra versus doing it yourself. You know, we've spent years and years building this infra out, providing this liquidity, creating this custom built layer 2, which is the Orderly chain that settles absolutely everything across one unified order book. So, you know, these protocols range from perp dexes, Telegram bots, trading terminals, wallets, AMMs, to even centralized exchanges having a DeFi arm, right? And just being able to plug and play directly into the Orderly network, have that instant liquidity. Off they go. They can test the market. They can go out and acquire users. They can spend their capital and resources on acquiring those users and those traders. So the suite of advantages to build on Orderly is very, very, very high, and it just really reduces that friction to be able to take your product to market.
Are you guys across multiple different chains as well? I think you mentioned that too.
Yeah, we're across 8 chains currently.
Which chains are those?
So that's going to be mainnet Ethereum, Arbitrum, Optimism, Mantle, Say Network. You know, the list continues to go on. Avalanche as well. You know, we're rolling these out on a sort of a bi-weekly basis, and our goal is, again, trade anything, anywhere, right? Wherever the users want to be on, we're going to make sure we're there. Wherever the builders want to build on and provide these services for their users, we're going to build there, and we're going to continue to do that as we go on as well.
Do you see a trend in popularity for any of these networks for both building and trading at the moment?
I think it shifts, right? Typically, we see a huge amount of like capital in the Ethereum ecosystem, obviously, just how large DeFi is there. We see large influx of capital that comes through the likes of Arbitrum and Optimism. I'd say the majority of our TVL sits across these networks, right? But we understand that these networks and the dynamics of these networks are always going to shift, right? And this actually becomes a larger problem for DeFi protocols, is that the less mature DeFi protocols that are servicing one chain, let's say they're on chain A, and then for some reason the meta changes, there's a big incentive, there's a large push for another chain. They're then just losing their TVL and losing their users to that chain. So then they either have to make the decision, do they then deploy to the next chain? And again, enhancing the issue of fragmented liquidity, right? So for us is we want to give the builders on top of Orderly the option. Do they want to be omni-chain on day one across every single chain on unified order book that Orderly is deployed onto? Do they want to stay chain specific? And some of the Orderly builders are chain specific. They have their perp venue that their users come to only specific to the chain of that choice. Maybe they deploy to 2 or 3 chains, but the majority of the builders obviously want to give their users trade anything, anywhere. So they're deploying across all chains at once.
Awesome. And then I saw that you can stake directly on Orderly. Can you trade directly on Orderly too?
You can't, no retail facing
Okay.
on for trading. Purely the 30+ different protocols are enabled for trading.
Okay. Well, can you talk about the staking?
So the staking method is effectively the retail part of Orderly. We have our own token, the order token, and that enables users to come in, stake their order token. They receive like a soulbound token called Valor, and that soulbound token of Valor represents a portion of the Orderly treasury. What we effectively do is obviously we charge trading fees, right? 60% of all the net fees that Orderly makes, we move into a treasury, and that goes to stakers. So real protocol derived revenue in the hands of stakers.
Yeah, I was looking also at your guys' ecosystem, and you probably touched on this a little bit earlier too, but it's quite impressive. 400,000 plus traders, 87 billion in volume. The diversity of wallets, exchanges, and dexes. You guys have definitely built out quite an ecosystem and infrastructure. Where do you guys plan on taking this further? Because it seems like you've done quite a bit already. What are some of the next steps for Orderly?
So the ecosystem is great, right? And I guess that's a product of being an infrastructure based product, right? It's almost a B2B to C style play. So we have 30 plus different protocols built on top of Orderly, another 10 to 15 plus on the horizon, short term horizon. More and more are coming to us every single day, right? Some of the biggest players within the Perpdex landscape, whether it's WooFi Pro, LogX, BitToro, terminals like Sharp AI, Telegram bots and wallets like Unibot and Cool Wallet. We've even got centralized exchanges like Bitsy and Ascendex. All of these guys have contributed to an ever-growing community ecosystem of users via these builders, right? And we have so many more builders coming on board. We almost inherit their community, right? We have this powered by Orderly strapline, if you will, so that user feels that trust in the Orderly brand. So they're going to go to that DEX of their choice on the chain of their choice. If they know it's powered by Orderly, it creates that level of trust. They know it's deep liquidity. They know it's provided by a suite of 20 plus world-class market makers. They can trust it. They can trade it. They can go anywhere they want. So that continues to bolster the Orderly brand and strengthen our product offering. That helps us acquire more builders and just continues to grow the ecosystem around it from there.
Yeah, you mentioned a lot of the use cases too. Are there any projects, things being built on Orderly that you find really cool, exciting, a bit different? What would you highlight maybe within your guys' ecosystem?
There's so many, right? And each we never wanted to be in a world where we have 50 plug and play perp dexes built on top of us, right? That doesn't really overly make sense, right? We wanted the Orderly product for perps to complement an existing product offering, right? So if I'm an AMM and I've got a large community, large users, they're coming onto my platform, they're swapping spot assets with the AMM, they're using launch pools, they're using earn products. Why not widen that product offering and offer them perps instead of having them go to another venue? So I think there's lots of different exciting use cases, but things that excite me, and new things crop up every day, right? Absolutely every day, it's super exciting. We've seen account abstracted Telegram wallets, so you can trade perps on the go, right? We've seen really, really cool AI sentiment Chrome extensions that can actually sit inside Twitter. So a user can look at a cash tag, understand the market sentiment, the Twitter sentiment, ask the extension for fundamental or TA, and then they can directly long or short that asset inside the Chrome extension within Twitter. That to me is super exciting. It's all about keeping the user sticky and keeping the user where they want to go. Having the user to have to constantly change tabs, go to a protocol of their choice, deposit bridge. It's very clunky, right? So there's lots of different innovation. And actually, even last week, we just finished a really exciting AI bounty program that we did alongside Google Cloud. And we've seen so many amazing AI trading strategies that effectively will just automatically trade on behalf of the user over a set period of time across multiple different strategies. And those strategies are using machine learning and different LLM models to refine and adjust those strategies every millisecond. We had more than 400 plus teams building AI agents, and the results are really, really exciting. And we're exciting to see how they turn into user-facing products in the near future. So honestly, every day there's something new that crops up that we're excited about, and then we start talking to the teams and we start ideating these different use cases for Orderly or how they can leverage Orderly, and we continue to push from there.
Yeah, I swear in the past month alone, I've heard more about AI agents than I've heard about anything else in this space. It's definitely taken Web3 by storm, and it's kind of cool what you can use them for. But what things do you imagine maybe could propagate through Orderly Network with AI? I mean, you mentioned a few there. I'm just kind of curious. It could do a lot for trading.
Yeah, huge amounts for trading, right? In terms of the way I see it, and maybe I'm biased, right? I started this by talking about me buying Ethereum CFDs on social trading platforms, right? We're all well aware, especially in the TradFi world, like 98% of retail participants lose money, right? So that's why typically retail participants will edge a little bit more closer to someone else managing their money for them, whether it's social trading, copy trading, prime brokers, whatever it might be, right? So the thing that I'm more excited about is um, social trading and or copy trading powered by AI agents. Um, where the strategies are literally changing by the millisecond. They're adjusting, they're refining, they're improving. There's no emotional part to it, which can effectively be good or bad. Sometimes trading should be emotional, depending on the time or the volatility of the market as well. But I'm really excited to see that as a very passive retail facing arm where they just click one button, they deploy into an AI agent. The strategies are being refined by the millisecond by a said. They've been back tested across multiple different data points, and then off they go.
Absolutely. I mean, the emotional aspect definitely, I think, gets to a lot of traders. I think it would be interesting to see AI kind of incorporated into that at some point. If I mean, it already starting to get to that point.
Something I was even talking about earlier today is being able to have an AI agent trade on your behalf, but then post to Twitter a trading journal. Um, and just being able to like read and learn from that trading journal, get people to understand what the AI agent is doing, and really almost these AI agents can almost become KOLs or like trade seasoned traders themselves, right? Multiple different strategies, multiple different profiles, multiple different venues and trading strategies that they're looking to do. But you can also learn from that AI agent in real time as well by seeing their trading journal.
The future is exciting, man. What does the 2025 roadmap look like for Orderly? You guys going to be attending any events, conferences, any exciting launches coming up? What should people know?
Yeah, we're always at events. We just came off the back of DevCon in Bangkok. We were at Token 2049 prior to that. Next up for us will probably be Consensus in Hong Kong in February. So always looking to meet new builders, new community members, new partners, new stakeholders. It's great for us. Moving into 2025, though, like from an innovation perspective, one thing that we are really excited about is our integration with Solana. That will be, depending when this airs, that will be next Monday, so the 2nd of December, onto mainnet. For us, this marks the first ever EVM and non-EVM unified order book, right? We spent a lot of time today talking about fragmented liquidity and all the different chains that Orderly's deployed on. These are EVM chains. Our deployment for Solana will mark the first EVM and non-EVM unified order book. It's taken so much time and effort from the product teams to roll this out, and we're really looking forward to getting this into the hands of the builders. Right, we understand the hype, the amount of capital, the quality of the Solana ecosystem, and what could be done there, especially for perpetual trading. Probably for perpetual trading with meme coins, if I'm honest with you. But it's a great advancement for us. It's a huge innovation for us. It doesn't exist currently. That for me is really exciting. And then as we roll into the rest of the next year, we're focusing on improving liquidity for majors. I started most of this conversation talking about the differences between CFI and DeFi, right? So we have to rival the liquidity. So we're focused there. Strategy vaults, more chain deployments, even non-EVM ones like Solana, but we'll continue to do that. We're looking to decentralize our matching engine with zero knowledge proofs. And one exciting thing that is like quite personal to me as well in terms of like the innovations is what we're calling like permissionless listings, right? Very similar to what it sits with AMMs on spot, right? Is a project can come into the Orderly UI, they can deposit tokens into a vault for LP, they can launch a perp instantly. There's been a lot of narrative regarding like centralized exchange listings over the last couple of months. It always seems to pop up over time, right? How much the tier ones, the tier twos charge, what marketing budget they need, how hard it is to break that barrier to entry to get listed on a centralized exchange. Imagine a world when you're a project, you can come to Orderly, you can deploy some LP, you can launch your perp within an hour, and immediately that perp is available on 30, 40, 50 plus different perp dexes with different use cases, different communities, different user bases. That to me is super, super excited. I'm really excited about that. But yeah, in general, there's a lot in the development pipeline. We're not just focused on widening the products, right? We're also focused on refining what we do have and bringing that centralized exchange experience, on chain for all users. So we'll keep pushing on the same strapline, trade anything, anywhere. But we want to make sure the product continues to be improved and spread across as well.
Yeah, I like that use case. It's kind of crazy how much they gate, I think, with some of these centralized exchanges. I know a lot of projects, obviously I've talked to a lot of them, but I know a lot of them that are incredible and they're building great stuff and they can't get their ecosystem token anywhere on an exchange, but they will list, and I love meme coins too, but they'll list some random meme coin just because it has a large community. And I'm like, what's the threshold here for what we're trying to do?
It becomes a little bit of a black box, right? And we want to just abstract that away from those protocols, right? If you want to get in front of 30 plus, it's a one-to-many approach, right? You want to get to 30 plus different perpdex protocols with their communities and their user base within an hour. Come to Orderly, deploy into the vault, off you go.
Excellent. I like it, man. Arjun, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking to you today and learning more about what you guys are doing with Orderly Network. Keep me updated on everything that's going on, and let's aim to do another episode here going into 2025 when you guys do some more stuff and we'll have some more updates, and would love to talk to you again.
100%. Thanks for having me.